From Jacob. I bet it breaks your heart that no SEC teams are in this championship game. I bet it breaks ESPN's heart that their ratings will be so low because of that. Well, I can't speak for ESPN because I don't work there and they have not granted me permission to do so. Maybe they feel that way. I can speak for myself. I am not heartbroken by that. The rating on the TV I couldn't care less about for a much more basic reason. It doesn't impact me. Let me hit you with this though. So there is a lot of SEC content on my show for a very simple reason. Those people watch the most college football. They consume the most college football content. I'd have to be an idiot to run a for-profit channel where I didn't talk a lot about the SEC. Now, if you want to get me into charity work, I don't care. I'll talk Mountain West all day and twice on Sunday if you want me to. So in a for-profit enterprise, yes, I'm going to talk about what the audience disproportionately wants me to lean towards. But having said that, Michigan's a really big fan base, and Michigan's a really good story. Washington's an excellent story, and it's a story within the story that I doubted them all year, and here we are. So that's been really fun. But there was some other sentiment that not Jacob said. I want to be very clear. Jacob just asked the question. I saw some other sentiment in my inbox. I've had a few people say this over the past few weeks. They've said a national championship game without the SEC in it is illegitimate. And I have no clue what that means. I have no clue whatsoever what that means. I watched Bama and Georgia play in Atlanta. Full disclosure, I thought the winner of that game was going to win it all. I was wrong. Bama beat Georgia. Bama gets a shot at Michigan. It's not like they were banged up. They got 3 weeks to get healthy. Michigan beat them. That's the best the SEC had to offer this year. Guys, I'll drink the SEC Kool-Aid right along with you. It's been the premier conference in this sport for 2 decades. It is where a majority of our viewer base and listenership is. But the SEC has no business in this national championship game. Like, what serious person could suggest an alternative? And what serious person, when you've seen Michigan take down the SEC's best, when you watched Washington take down a program that's headed to the SEC next year in Texas, what serious person could look at this matchup and say, that's not legitimate? Now, in fairness, a lot of the people who said it to me said it with an animated picture instead of their actual face for their profile shot, so maybe they were just trying to stir the pot. But I think it's a serious thing that there is some sentiment out there that if you don't have the SEC involved in anything related to crowning a college football champ, it's not legitimate. Well, yeah, it is legitimate. Now, if we had the alternative scenario happen, let's say on Selection Sunday, let's say FSU got put in. I'm not opening that can of worms, but let's say FSU got put in and Bama was out and there wasn't an SEC team in the playoff. Then you'd have some validity. Then if you wanted to say, well, if the SEC's champ would have been in there, it would have been a much different story, because I couldn't prove you wrong. So I may have even felt the way you felt, but at the very least I couldn't have proven you wrong, so I would have had to at least go with it. Guys, Bama was in. Bama was in. I watched the game right there on the sideline at the Rose Bowl. They didn't win. That's the way it works. Like, this is competitive sports, right? It's not a beauty contest. That's the way it works. So is the SEC in this thing? No. Do they belong at this point? No. Maybe next year's a different story.